Hey all, it's Bruce Lee from John Fan 13. I just decided to do maybe a review today, instead of just going through all my discs and stuff. So I enjoy one or two other people's reviews of films on YouTube. So I just thought, I'll go to the top of my stack and see what's on top, and then I'll review that one. So the first one, it was one of my favourites, which is House, from, I think it's 1985, maybe 86. Me and my friend, he used to have it on like a 4-hour tape when we were sort of growing up with like Rambo 3 and Troll. So we used to watch it sort of quite often, all three in a row on a sort of Saturday. So quite, very sort of familiar to me. So I'm glad it was this one to start off with. And interesting film this, and I think it's sort of slightly maybe underrated. I don't know how sort of popular it was when it came out, but I would have bought it or gone out to see the cinema if it was out then. It was sort of in the middle of the 80s sort of horror explosion. So like I say, it is one of my favourite ones. Sean S. Cunningham, you might have heard of from other things like Friday the 13th and stuff like that. It's got William Katz. He was also in Carrie, the original, and he plays a guy called Roger Cobb in this. Basically, what happens is Roger's aunt owns a big house where he grew up. Right at the start, a delivery guy goes to the house with some groceries, finds her sort of hanging in one of the rooms, and then runs out scared, and then Roger hears about it, the funeral and stuff, and he decides that he'll move into the house shortly after to write his new book. He's like a horror writer, but he's sort of like having a break from that for a little while and writing his sort of memoirs on like these Vietnam experiences. So everything seems like normal-ish, for a little while, and then you sort of hearing little bumps and bangs and creepy stuff going on. So he starts getting into his novel, and he's going back into his memory of Vietnam and stuff. And it's a funny thing about this movie. It's quite really well done. It's sort of like linked to his conscience in a way, because as these creaks and cracks and whatever, his auntie comes back to sort of like warn him to get out of the house, and it's evil, and it knows everything about him with him growing up there. He takes no notice, of course. And then he goes up to sort of investigate a noise, opens the sort of closet door, and a big sort of like monster comes out at him, tries to grab him and stuff. So he's quite shook up about that. All other things go on. He's sort of divorced from his wife and stuff, and thinks that she's sort of like come back to visit him and make up or whatever, and she ends up being a sort of like monster witch thing and tries to get him. There's loads of different sort of little parts to it, and like I say, it's when he gets his next door neighbour he gets friendly with, where he comes around and says like there's a big sort of raccoon in this closet, so he's got all cameras sort of set up and asks him to sort of, if he needs a hand, spike the thing with a harpoon, So he goes along with it, and he opens the door, of course, and this thing comes out, and sort of like it's where it gets more interesting, the piece of rope sort of gets tangled around Roger's ankle and drags him through the closet, and he ends up in sort of back into Vietnam. It's like sort of linked into his sort of conscience, in his mind, you see. So he's thinking, what the hell am I doing here, sort of thing, and finds his best friend, who he was in Vietnam with, Ben, and he sort of sees him sort of like lying there, hurt, and he asks him to sort of finish him off. It must have happened when they were there before, and whatever happened. He got shot and stuff, and he's saying to Roger, like, finish me off, and don't let him take me. He says he's going to get help. Wanders off, he can't sort of do it. Leaves him there for a minute or two, and the Vietnam soldiers come and carry him off, and he's screaming in pain. I'm going to get you for not killing me, finishing me off. Because he's going to get sort of tortured and whatever else he used to do. So he goes back to sort of the house, sort of carries on for a little bit, and like I say, his son also has gone missing. This is before he'd moved in the house a bit sort of earlier on. And when his missus were sort of like doing a bit of gardening and stuff, and the boy goes missing. He sees him drowning in the pool at the back, jumps in, and he's just disappeared. No one knows where he's gone. It's sort of unexplainable where this little child has gone, so that's sort of like playing on his mind as well while he's at the house. And he can, like, later on in the film, he sort of hears his voice, doesn't know where it's coming from, and goes up to the bathroom, looks in the mirror, and decides to sort of like throw a little stool or something like through the mirror, and that's sort of like another link into, it's just a big empty sort of like space. It's like another link into his mind sort of thing, but also another sort of part of the house, if you know what I mean. So he goes in there after being attacked by a thing again, another thing, and actually sort of finds his son in a cage, and hears his gunshots, and his kid says, he's coming back, and he doesn't know what he's on about. So basically, they go back to the house, and Ben, his friend, turns back up, but as like an undead zombie, a really cool zombie in my opinion. All the effects in this are really good for the time. Anyway, it's all practical effects. It's really well done, very enjoyable film. Like I say, it's always been one of my favourites, and I know there's 2 and 3. I've got the third one. I have seen the second one, but it's sort of not as good as this. Third one I bought not long ago. It didn't even make it to the end. I just thought it was so terrible. It wasn't worth me spending my time on. I think I turned it off. But I mean, there's not a lot more I can sort of say about it, other than, if you haven't seen it, it's got a bit of humour in there, good effects, the story's written well, good acting. It's also got the guy next door, Harold, is the big guy out of Cheers as well. So I can't remember what his name is. George Wendt, I think. And well, basically, a lot goes on. It keeps you interested. It's a good film. Definitely one of the better ones out of the 80s. And I'd highly recommend it. So I mean, if there's any other films you want me to sort of review without sort of giving away the whole thing, just let me know. And but thanks for watching.